when you look at something like this, LiDAR to me is just game changing. Okay, so I am Matt Hospital, prospecting geologist here, and I'm doing this video on basically the app is called CalTopo. And so far, it has probably been the best app for gold prospecting and probably relic hunting, metal detecting that I have found. But once you get CalTopo downloaded and everything to your phone, and it is also available, it's already available on both iOS devices as well as Android. Once you get it downloaded to your phone and you open it up and everything and get logged in, this is about what your home screen, what it'll start up looking like right here with the US. Probably is your main center point, and the country outline. And here we'll start moving into zooming in on some of the states. So you zoom in and you get the state outlines and stuff. For some reason, I found this one odd, but I didn't realize when did Georgia and South Carolina become a singular state, because for some reason it's missing the boundary in between on it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, don't know why that is. But so this is the main layer that you'll come into on CalTopo, and there are many more, and we'll go into that here shortly. So you start with your maps. When you make various maps and everything, they'll be under the Maps tab here. And when you start adding things to this, this is where you can save it or clear it. And if you want to reopen them, they'll be in your maps. Your tracks is for if you actually want to track where you're going out in the field and everything. The scanning the QR code is for if somebody wants to share a map with you. And that's one of the nice things about this is you can share this between your buddies and stuff. And if they go out into the field, they can add points to the map on their phone. And if it's a shared map between you, it'll show up on your map that you've shared and vice versa. So that's actually a pretty cool feature. I've never found any other apps that have allowed you to share your updated maps live. I watched Nick walk through the field with the track, out in the field, his tracks showing up and everything. And then also the points he added, I could watch in real time on my phone from hundreds of miles away. I could see his tracks going, where he was going, points he was putting in, stuff he was writing, all that. So, I thought that was pretty damn cool. I haven't found any other ones that could do that. Download layers is its own separate thing that'll have to be gone into in a later one. If you want to download your own LiDAR maps separately, and there is LiDAR built into this, but if you want to download your own or aerials or other things, you can download layers there. But that's about it for the main sidebar there. So now we'll punch in a location here, and I decided to use Aurora, Georgia, because I've done some research there. I know the area fairly well, and it has good LiDAR. So we're going to use that as our example for this video and possibly this video series. So once you can type in wherever you want there, but that zooms us in right on Aurora. This is the map builder. I think Topo. Map builder Topo is the base layer right now. It's pretty good. So here's some of your basic layers that are within the program itself. So up at the top here, you have your base layers, and this is what your main map layer is, and this is where you'll find topos, aerials, LiDAR, historic maps, and many other different types. And then on the other thing, you have overlays. The most useful overlays so far have generally been the map builder overlay, geology overlay. Public lands has been fairly useful as well. Some of these ones will not be available to you in the base app, such as the parcel data. That is only available for paid subscriptions. I think at only $20 a year will get you parcel data, which is honestly cheap and good. And there's a couple other layers in here that, let me look up real quick, that are not on the free version, which is what it is. They got to make money somehow. I have honestly paid for the $100 a year version to get all access to everything, because honestly, this is by far the best app I have found. So yeah, parcel data is not available on the free one, nor is the weather stations or aircraft. But honestly, I've not used those, so I don't think you're missing anything real big. And then pretty much everything is available. So the free app is very powerful. I've paid for everything because parcel data is instrumental when you're trying to figure out which properties you want to access to go prospect or metal detect. So that's kind of our parcel building data there. So now here is our main base layers. So right now it's on Map Builder Topo. Map Builder Hybrid is very similar. Scan topos. We should jump into, that's our Map Builder Hybrid. You zoom in, it does a pretty good job of showing you the main features you want to know, such as the road. It's a little slow on giving you the river names. So then we'll go into the Map Builder Hybrid and Map Builder Topo. I don't really see much difference, but here is your just normal scan topos, which these are like the normal topos that you would download to look at or buy in hard copy. But these are your normal topos. Old school, probably looks a little older here on this one, probably 1940s maybe, but usually done at least in the 1960s. And then we go, the next useful one is usually for me, the TF Outdoors. It does a very good job of river and creek names, as well as topo lines, roads, and all that. But I've found it most useful for getting the stream and creek and river names and stuff. It does very good with showing that everywhere. So I use that one a decent amount in conjunction with some other layers. But they're just showing you, it's the Etowah River. It is a cool name. And then your just general global imagery is just like your general satellite view, such as this, which in and by itself isn't useful, but when you go in and turn on the map builder overlay, it then overlays creek, river names, road names, towns, cities, all that. So then it becomes much more usable, very similar to Google Earth in its own right. Counties as well as states and everything. I find the map builder overlay you'll use a lot. And then the next useful one is Geology here. Actually, we go into it's a different aerial layer, the NAIP. I don't know, I kind of use it somewhat. Is what you want. I don't know, it just shows you some different time frames of it. But from here, I think we're going to take a look at shaded relief, which is your LiDAR. And this is the meat and potatoes for prospecting and treasure hunting, metal detecting guys. This is why we are here. So zoom in and just look at that placer workings right on the Etowah River there. I think one of the WEGMA claims, the Weekend Gold Miners claims, is somewhere right here on the Etowah. I don't know specifically. I know it's right there somewhere. But you can look at all those workings all through there. And I mean, if we just pause it here with the mouse, this is all on this inside bend here. This is all placer workings. On this other inside bend, there's placer workings. As we keep scrolling around, there's placer workings all up through here. This is some hard rock with quasi-hard rock placer based off of how they did it in Georgia near Dahlonega here. They did a quasi. It was highly decomposed bedrock and everything, so they kind of just plastered the actual hard rock vein material through hydraulic sluices and stuff. So while it was technically hard rock gold that had not moved, they were able to placer it, which is interesting. And then as they got down deeper and the bedrock became hard, they would go into more of your traditional tunnel and shaft type mining and everything. But what you're looking at right here, I mean, these are big cuts. This is a big cut right here. I think that is one there. This is one here, trending up this way, and it trends in a very straight line. If you've looked at any of the old maps for this area. I mean, they mark it out very well on where it is. And there's a bunch of, I mean, these are all mines. There's another big, huge open cut, another open cut. All these streams right below them were placer mined. To me, LiDAR is just, when you look at something like this, LiDAR to me is just game changing, especially for us Southeast Coast guys, where everything is covered in just vegetation and overburden, and it's private property. So this really helps you pinpoint, the LiDAR can help you pinpoint potential properties that you want to get permission for, without having to go there and you don't really know if mining is taking place or not. But this lets you generally know. I mean, it's just a fantastic tool. I can't talk good enough things about LiDAR, obviously. So, I mean, just, yeah, this is all right south of Dahlonega now. There's just massive cuts all through. There was a crown mountain. There's big cuts all around. The vein kind of trends up and changes direction there a little bit and heads over that way. Not as plastered right there, but you can see right here. This is that vein trend, and it crosses this Cane Creek right there, and they did heavy work. I mean, they cut right through a whole hillside and trended up that way. I would love to go see these workings, and you can see it continues down that way. I would love to go see these workings, but I don't have permission for these properties, so I can't. I got to look at them through LiDAR. Cool stuff, but this is where then these are your other overlays. Then another cool one is generally your historic. Historic can be pretty useful at times. It doesn't always overlay correctly. Like if you look at this, here's the old map showing the Etowah River, and here's the actual Etowah River. And this is just happens to be the nature of these old historic maps. Is, wow, accurate enough. They're not real world accurate, at least a lot of times. But for the metal detecting guys, this is the historic maps, and this is very useful for finding then and trying to line up your locations. But you're going to be having to do some stuff based off of how the road shapes are and different things like that, because the roads are generally more accurate than what they map the creeks as, from what I've noticed. So the shape of this road is probably what you could find in the LiDAR to know where you are on the historic map and match those up. But yeah, the historic LiDAR can be a very good, powerful tool for you. Just zoom out some. And the nice thing is it stitches them all together on its own without you having to do anything. So there's Dahlonega, the Finley mine. I don't know of it, but we'll zoom in and take a look and see what workings are right there. I know there was some, but you can switch between historic and your global image and your LiDAR and everything. You can see right here, this is probably the Finley mine, one of these right in here, either that hilltop or the other one. But you can also stack them and make one semi-transparent, so you can actually see them overlaying like in real time. So this is historic with LiDAR overlaying. It comes a little jumbled and hard to see, but so here's where it marks the Finley mine on the historic. I think, like I said, these maps are a little bit off, but it's still a very powerful tool to have when you're doing your research for various locations and everything. Yeah, God, just look at that LiDAR. They hydraulic the hilltop there, it looks like. That is super interesting, because this was worked, and you can see the chutes like coming down, it looks like. That's my guess on what that is. They hydraulic that hilltop. Super cool. And you can kind of see, yeah, that Finley mine, that had to be that one there on this ridge almost. It looks to be the line up the best. Now, if I would overlay the actual like mineral resource data system for the mines, then it would show up probably for right there somewhere. Okay, so here's our geologic. So you can also add your geology overlays in here. It's decent. It's not the most up-to-date geologic map. Like if you can find your 7.5 minute quadrangles, they're going to be much more accurate than what this global U.S. spanning geologic map is, but it's good enough to get you an idea of what's going on, what geologic strata and stuff you're looking at in the area. Because here in Dahlonega, you can see we got schist here, we got ultramafic, amphibolite. There's some gneiss, and I'll show you here in a bit how the mining trends follow these strata contacts and stuff pretty well. We go to parcel data, which so for parcel data to get this information, you need to, I think, at least do the $20 a year version of CalTopo, which for $20 a year, it's not bad at all. I'm honestly, I decided to just up and pay for the entire, like, get everything, which is $100 a year, and that's still pretty damn cheap for a lot of these apps. I think many of them are much more expensive. I know TouchGIS was ridiculous, and I would not pay for that one because it just didn't offer anything better than what the free one really was. But with parcel data, you're able to then look at the site address, ownership, parcel number, or boundary is only, and from this information you'll be able to go online and then track down the actual owners. And that will help you figure out where they live to go get in contact with them to ask for permission for various properties and access and everything. So here's, I just have it as ownership right now. Parcel numbers, between parcel numbers and ownership is probably what you're going to need to find, and the county GIS websites have all that too. So that's how you're going to find the owners and where they live. Structures is an interesting one that is actually fairly useful, because sometimes on the LiDAR you'll get these areas where, like, you can't tell if it's a house and it's covered in trees. So when you turn it to the aerial view, you can't tell if it's like old foundations or if it's new. But the structures should be relatively recent buildings. I don't know when they're pulling their data from. Hang on here. So the structures help with pulling, like, is this thing that I'm seeing right here, is that mining related? Is it like an old house foundation, or is that new? And it seems like the house structure data is fairly new, so it's generally going to help you with that versus just having to wing it somewhat. So that's what I have generally used that for so far. Yeah, just look at all that beautiful mining activity along that creek there. Gorgeous. Yeah, so it just kind of shows you how the structures pop out then, so you know what is a current structure versus what may be an older foundation or something that you're actually looking for. Yeah, and then there's it with aerial. LiDAR is the reason for this. So here we go. So here's another interesting thing that the map has, is it tells you what areas have cell coverage for the various providers, such as AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. And it shows that on the map, so you can know if an area you're going into is going to have cell coverage. Interesting, maybe kind of useful. Not really helping you find anything, but good to know. Good to know information. Okay, but yeah, I mean, just once again with the LiDAR here, we're looking at one of these large inside bends on the Etowah River, and they placer mine the crap out of it. Definitely looks like they cut what was probably into an old, where the river used to be, and mine the crap out of it. It's just, I would love to go look at all these workings. They moved a lot of material all around this whole area. All this is placer. I think there's a line of hard rock in here, which we're going to talk about here shortly. Right there, tracing it. Looks like a line of hard rock. And we're going to show you how to put in a vein trend, like lines and markers and stuff here. Okay, so here's how we're gonna throw in some lines as the plausible vein trend for a couple of these things here to get you an idea of like a little bit what we're looking at, and how to kind of trace some of these vein trends. So from down in this area right there, you can see some, and then coming up right through here, it looks like there's a line of hard rock, and they didn't really plaster above it, but they plastered heavily below it. So that's kind of telling you that it's a plausible hard rock source for that area. It'll take in the field exploration to really know for sure, but that's what it looks like on the LiDAR end here. And you can add comments, name, you can change the color, you can change the style, and a bunch of stuff for all your points and trends and everything else that you input. But yeah, that looks like a plausible hard rock vein trend. So they hard rock mined gold in that, and then it was plastered. This is unplastered stream right here, and then it goes into a plastered stream. And unplastered, plastered. So that's kind of, this is a bigger stream and has other sources up, so they plastered the whole thing. But these smaller ones, yeah, they plastered all the way up here, but it looks like there's another hard rock trend possibly up that way based off of some of the workings. But with these smaller streams, half is plastered, half is unplastered. It's kind of telling you. But now we'll go over this way closer towards Aurora and take a look at, there's another large trend through here that had a good number of mines on it where they like hydraulic wash the actual vein material into some big sluices and everything back in the day, and they just ripped the crap out of it. I mean, just look at that. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous looking from my end. I don't know. So we're going to plot this one as well. This one is definitely, I know, plotted on some of the old historical gold maps for Georgia and everything. I've looked at it, and it's plotted right down through there from Dahlonega and further. You could pull that map up and overlay it with, you could pull that map up, snip stuff out, and you could overlay that map into CalTopo as an overlay if you wanted to. And I'll have to do a future video on how to go about doing that. Right now I'm just looking for any extensions of that, but it seems like it kind of bends around here a little bit, and then I don't know if it peters out because I'm not really seeing much more down south. Like I said, the historic maps would also help with that. Add that then. Vein trend 2, and you can choose different styles. Say that one's maybe you don't know if it's as good as a vein or not, so you can do like a dashed line, dotted line, directional. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do with it. But yeah, that's definitely a larger trend in the area. It's been well mapped. I could stare at these maps all day long. Like I said, just as a disclaimer too, I don't have access to any of these areas. Like I said, I think there's a Weekend Gold Miners club claim somewhere right abouts in here, I think, maybe a little lower. But just by viewing this and being able to see stuff does not give you permission to go access those properties. You require landowner permission. So do your own research. I am not a lawyer. I am not a land expert. Don't take my advice for that type of stuff. It's up to you to determine if you have access to various areas and what your legal stuff is. So just my disclaimer there on the legalities of this stuff. Do your homework. Don't trespass. Don't do illegal shit. I just like looking at maps and going out prospecting, but I do it all legally. So, and then like here, you can add the geology in, and you'll see that this trend in particular, because I know it bends up around and kind of goes into the Dahlonega, like it's following these geologic trends. And you could probably map out a few others through here, and you would see that it's generally following those geologic trends. the contacts in the bedrock and stuff, the veins conform with the geology in this area, as well as throughout pretty much the southeastern coast, in that they run northeast, southwest, from Alabama all the way up to Virginia. So yeah, going up into Dahlonega, you can see a bunch of the workings turn and go into there, but Dahlonega probably had to remove some to actually build itself. Yeah, then you can add markers. You can add markers, lines, polygons. I mean, there's so many different things that you can add in here for different things that you want to annotate, notate. When you're out in the field, you can get ranges, you can do bearing lines, so you can add like a point, say this is where I took this pan at, and then you put stuff in the comments saying I got 5 specs, and you can map all this stuff out for yourself. There's a bunch of little different icons in here. You can add your own icons, including like the pick and axe, pick and shovel icon, and other ones. It's just a super useful app. It is by far the best one I have found for gold prospecting. You can add a polygon. But yeah, it's just by far the best app I have found for prospecting. And then you can also create folders. So then say this is your Aurora map folder, or Aurora info folder, and then all these different things that you've added you can add to that folder to help organize all your stuff. I know I've been doing a ton of that for Virginia, with adding bunches of different ones for various rivers, various locations I have access for, and keeping it all organized, which is always important. So keep that in mind. Then it adds up in there in your map items. And in a future video, we will go into exporting and importing information, such as like the mineral resource data system, mine locations. You can import pretty easily. You can also import your own LiDAR maps if they are of higher quality, which in some locations they are. You can also export the various things that you make to then bring them up on your own, like say Google Earth you want to bring them into, all that type of stuff you can do. Just super cool tool. I've been using it since one of my buddies told me about it, and I have been exploring it and learning and adding a shit ton of information to my maps. Another thing I should say is that the base free version does not give you the option to do offline maps, though generally we have not ran into an issue of it yet, because I believe it does cache like your previously viewed stuff that you've just looked at. It is cached in your storage for a bit. I don't know how long though. So if you like right before you go to one of these claims that does not have service, or an area that does not have service, you can look at it in service, and then when you get to the field, it should load for you, I think. Don't take my word on that. But it generally seems that it does that. I think once you get up to like the $20 a year version, then you get access to offline maps where you can download certain grids that you want, and then you'll have that in the field, and even without service, you'll still be able to see your GPS dot. So you'll be able to see where you are in the field in that area. Just another super useful tool to have. We haven't ran into that issue yet in Virginia. Nick has been tramping all about, and he's had good enough service to still use everything in it. So, and he has the free version. But yep, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this. Basically an intro into the use of CalTopo and the basics of it. We're going to start delving into more intricate stuff with LiDAR and what various features look like in the field and how they appear on LiDAR, and kind of going through some of that and getting everybody better integrated with it, and to be able to use it as a tool to help you find more gold when you're out in the field. So that will wrap it up for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe. We've been working hard on growing our content and everything, and Nick has been a big help with helping me do stuff since he's down in Virginia and I'm in Pennsylvania. He's been going out and checking shit out. And we've been working on, providing more cool videos and more information more often. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.